Are standardized tests such as the SAT or ACT a good way to tell if somebody will excel in college? If so, why are so many prestigious colleges dropping them as requirements for admission? Critics say that the tests are poor predictors of college grades, or that they are biased against minority groups. These critics also say they mainly test for socioeconomic status, since high-income parents can afford to live in good school districts or send their children to private schools. Plus, they can pay for expensive test preparation coaches who can dramatically increase scores. Advocates of testing, on the other hand, say these critics have got it all wrong, that the tests are excellent predictors of college performance, and that they are fair and objective measures of both preparedness and aptitude. So who is right? Hi, I'm Shannon Watkins, and this is a Higher Education Moment, a video series presented by the James G. Martin Center for Academic Renewal. Today, we'll try to provide some clarity about the issue of using standardized tests in college admissions. Over the last decade, many schools, including some of the nation's most prestigious, have either dropped or reduced using test scores in admissions. The list of schools that are entirely test optional includes Wake Forest University, the University of Chicago, and Bowdoin College. The main reason for dropping the test requirement is the same reason colleges do so many things today, to increase diversity. Testing critics say that using SATs and ACTs reduces the likelihood that minority and low-income students will be accepted. So what do these critics prefer? They like holistic admissions, which focus on all sorts of additional evidence, such as extracurricular activities, personal essays, teachers' recommendations, and volunteer work. They say that by looking at the full range of each student's total activities, they can better determine whether that student is a good fit at their particular school. But there is a big problem with the holistic approach. Extracurricular activities and the like say very little about whether a student has the sufficient skill level and natural aptitude to fight their way through difficult science and math courses, such as organic chemistry, quantum physics, or differential equations, or to be able to parse the proper meanings from ponderous, hair-splitting philosophy texts. That's precisely what standardized tests do extremely well: measure skill levels and innate brain power. While high school grades can offer some insight into whether a student can handle a tough college curriculum by themselves, they can be misleading. First of all, there is so much grade inflation today that it can be difficult to say what an A average in high school really means. Also, similar high school grade point averages by students from different schools can mean wildly different levels of aptitude and preparedness for college. Using standardized tests, which are designed to be uniform for the entire country, gives admissions officers a way to compare students no matter where they attend high school. Most importantly, it's a myth that standardized test scores are not good predictors of college performance. That is false. The overwhelming percentage of studies looking at the effectiveness of standardized tests show a strong positive relationship between test scores and college grades. Some testing critics took the fact that, in one major study, high school grades showed up as a slightly better predictor than test scores, and they used that to disingenuously claim that test scores are bad predictors. That is just plain wrong. Using standardized tests also reduces the likelihood that a student will be mismatched with his or her university. When an A student at a non-competitive high school goes to an elite college, they are frequently unprepared to compete at the necessary level. It is better for the student to go where they are at the same level as the rest of the schools. SATs are very helpful in this regard. And, not surprisingly, standardized tests actually promote diversity and reduce bias. It's just not the diversity some people would prefer. Test scores helped put an end to discrimination against Jewish students and increased income and geographic diversity at elite colleges in the 1940s and 1950s. Today, they help many talented students, particularly those from Asian countries, whose families immigrated to the United States, gain entry to top universities. And the college's motives may be not entirely pure when they drop requirements for test scores. Making test scores optional is a way to game the system so that a school can improve its rank in the very important U.S. News and World Reports rankings. Since only students with high test scores have an incentive to submit them, fewer low scores are used to compute the school's average, and it can appear that the average SAT or ACT score at a school is much higher than it actually is. Also, more students with low test scores will apply if the test score requirement is dropped, thinking that they have a higher chance of being admitted than before. This causes the school's acceptance rate to drop, which makes it look to be more selective than it really is. So if you really want a fair admissions process that ensures that the best qualified students get into the top schools, using standardized tests is the way to go. And if a student with so-so test scores really wants to go to an elite school, he or she can prove they can handle the work by getting top grades at another school and transferring in. If you wish to comment or learn more, feel free to contact my colleagues or me at www.jamesgmartin.center. Thank you.